You wear a lot of titles. I've called you youth pastor, you're associate pastor, you're probably doing lots of different things in the life of the church.
King of the court.
King of... And welcome to Going Home. I'm Craig Young, and we're going to be looking at people, families, ministries, churches, and seeing where God is moving through His people.
Kids who go through years of youth ministry programming and come out with this idea that God is a distant God who just wants us to be happy in our lives. We can call out to Him if we need Him for something, but there's not this passionate dedication of a sacrificial life for Him. You know, synchronize with the rest of your teammates and your team in order for you to do well and to play well.
Right. One of the things, though, that I realized that you've probably learned is that there's no way that you can stop my jump shot.
And then his mother passed away a few years later while he was still a teen. And really it's just been a really incredible picture, the way that he's been embraced by people in the church.
Welcome everyone, this is Going Home, sitting here with Pastor Calvin Black. He is a good friend of mine, and yeah, that's it. You know he's a good friend when we can nail that handshake like that, and that was the only take that we took. But we are going to get to know a little bit more about life and just growing up, and how did it all start? How did you get into ministry?
You know, even from a very young age, I remember being a part of the beginnings of the building and the church, and my parents were just very faithful people, and just made sure that we were at everything.
Yeah.
It's funny talking to parents of youth and even youth sometimes today. I don't ever remember sort of not wanting to go to youth, but I don't ever remember it ever being a choice either, or even a point of discussion. It was just like, that's just what we did.
Yeah.
And I loved it and I enjoyed it. As I grew up sort of through youth group, and we did, whatever crazy activities and stuff that we were doing.
Like oatmeal and...
Yeah, he had a few...
Anything involving oatmeal.
He had a few doozies, like he put together some Jello tank nights, and we had a mud bowl event one time in the back of the church where we just had this big mound of dirt that they had a digger come in and dig that up, and we had a moat, and so we'd do like King of the Hill and these games. And
I love it, the youth pastor just sitting back there and he's, what are we going to do for youth today? Well, we got a hole in the backyard. We could, maybe...
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. Like, it's just like, okay, what are we going to do? Yeah, we got a hole, let's use it. So he had a few kind of wild ideas and crazy ideas. But I think beyond that, I started to see, as I got older, the impact that he was able to have on youth that were a part of the church like me and had kind of grown up in the church, but also youth that were outside of church walls. Parents didn't go to church, sort of had no connection. He was able to make that connection with them and just really show them the love of God. And so I just thought that's a worthy calling, and I felt called to that, and so I probably, when I was grade 11 or so, I kind of made a decision, I'm going to go to Bible college and become a youth pastor.
So working in youth ministry, how would you describe yourself as a leader? Like,
I feel like I'm a good team player, and I really enjoy sports. I enjoy soccer, basketball, hockey, and one of the things about all of those sports is the importance of playing as a team, and not just being a lone ranger, sort of off on your own, doing your own thing, or being the star necessarily, but recognizing that you've got gifts and abilities that need to be shared and worked in with the synchronized with the rest of your teammates and your team in order for you to do well and to play well.
Right. One of the things, though, that I realize that you've probably learned is that there's no way that you can stop my jump shot.
That is a good joke.
What are you talking about? So leadership, just expanding on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about Christian leadership, I think the church has been so pressured to adopt a business leadership model where you have kind of the head CEO who's taking charge of everything. And I think especially in leadership studies, what we're seeing and learning is that leadership styles are varied, and there's we all play a part in leading at different times, and when we come together, we're a lot stronger than when we're alone. And so I definitely, have to take the lead at times in my ministry and with youth, especially. Yeah. There's times where you've got to say what's
or else
going
it's chaos
and take charge. But also, more and more, I think I'm trying to become more comfortable with handing over the lead and allowing the leaders under me to take leadership, and to leave room for that. And
that's discipleship,
right?
It's being able to calling others to disciple others.
Right. A lot of the research now is really pointing to kids who go through years of youth ministry programming and come out with this idea that God is a distant God who just wants us to be happy in our lives. We can call out to Him if we need Him for something, but there's not this passionate dedication of a sacrificial life for Him. And Kenda Creasy-Dean, is a youth ministry scholar, and she wrote a book called Almost Christian, where she picked up on a phrase that's moralistic therapeutic deism as the religion that a lot of teens are coming out of youth groups believing, that God is moral, He wants us to be good, and that He's sort of like a therapist where He wants us to be happy. And deism is a sense that He's distant from us, and it's pretty shocking, I think, for a lot of youth pastors to kind of feel like, I've been doing the program and doing what the church wants and keeping parents and ministry staff happy, and yet the end fruit and result just hasn't really been been shown in the research anyway. And you add to that the drastic drop-off of young adults from church communities after they graduate high school. They're absent really from the church. And so I think as youth pastors, we're looking at some of that and recognizing, wow, we have missed the goal here, and we've really missed the mark in the past. How do we change things so that
what
it's
needs
different?
to happen?
And that's a really good question that I think a lot of people are really struggling with. I think part of the answer is, like I was talking about before, really seeing that the family unit is a key part of teen spiritual development. If they're going to be passionate followers of Christ, they've got to see that in their family structure for it to really take root and take root in their lives. I think another critique of youth ministry programming is that we often are trying to, send the teens to the youth room, and the life of the church kind of carries on without them, or even the kids, and that we segregate all these different ages rather than really coming together as a community. We even name our churches community churches, and yet you get inside of a church and everybody goes to a different room where we don't see how we're all living together. And so I think a great place to start is looking at how are the youth a part of the community of the church rather than just their own separate thing.
So what happens with kids that come to youth group and they're not church kids? They don't have a Christian family. It's a broken family. What happens then with these kids?
Yeah, I think that's really hard work, and I think there's no easy answer. And we've experienced kids like that coming in and really being embraced by the church. The church becomes their family, and there's some great examples. Even one of my leaders, his mom brought him to one of the events that we're having and sort of introduced herself to me and introduced him to me and kind of in a way dropped him off at the door of our church. And so he started coming to youth and became very involved, was there all the time. And then his mother passed away a few years later while he was still a teen. And really it's just been a really incredible picture, the way that he's been embraced by people in the church, inviting him over for lunch and just including them in their lives, and the way that he really connected with the church, and the church did really become his family for him. But that doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. This is the Going Home Show. Another week sitting here with a close friend, Pastor Calvin Black. Thank you so much for being here. And anytime you want to come by and play on my hoop, I'd be happy to give you a little bit of pointers. But before we go, I have one last question. Where are you going?
I'm going home.